Good evening, listeners. My name is EveningWhisperTales. Tonight, I'll be telling you some scary horror stories to help you relax and fall asleep. If you enjoy this channel, I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Now, let's begin our evening together. Story 1. The Evidence. Locker doesn't forget. I work nights for a mid-sized police department in a Dutch-style city that pretends it's quieter than it is. The public thinks nothing happens here besides bike theft and loud students. The officers know better. The evidence unit knows best. My job title is Property and Evidence Technician, which sounds like I put stickers on baggies and call it a day. In reality, I'm the person who touches the things nobody else wants to touch twice. I check items in, log chain of custody, photograph, seal, shelve, and babysit a climate-controlled room full of the worst days of everyone's lives. Knives still tacky at the handle, phones that won't stop vibrating, clothing that had to be cut off someone who never went home. Most nights are predictable until the recording started. It was a Tuesday, technically Wednesday by the time it happened. 2:13 according to the system clock over the intake bench. I remember because it was the same time my daughter Noor sometimes wakes up from nightmares and shuffles into our room. My wife Leanne had texted me earlier. Noor asked if you can check her closet when you get home. I typed back, "Of course. Tell her I'll spray monster repellent." That kind of stupid dad joke keeps a child's world from collapsing. It's important. And when you work in evidence, you get weirdly protective about normality, like it's a fragile thing you have to keep clean. That night, I was alone except for the hum of the freezer in the biolocker and the occasional groan from the building's old ducks. Most of patrol was out on a missing person search. Teen girl, last seen near a late-night snack place by the canal. The detective unit was stretched thin. Everyone was tired, angry, and quietly scared. I was doing a routine audit of the high turnover shelves, stolen bikes, shoplifting, recovered wallets, the boring stuff. The only reason I audit at night is because there's less foot traffic, less paperwork dumped on my desk by people who say, "Just real quick," like they mean it. I had just pulled an evidence box from the top shelf, case 24-1187, petty burglary, when I heard it. A phone ringtone. Not the tinny chirp you sometimes get from a forgotten device in someone's pocket, but a full, clean ring. 3 pulses, then silence. I froze with the box in my hands. Phones are stored in Faraday bags, sealed, logged. Most of the time their batteries are dead by the time we get them anyway. They do not ring. My first thought was stupid, someone's in here. My second thought was worse. I'm going to have to explain this to someone and they'll look at me like I'm trying to get out of work. I set the box down carefully and listened. Nothing. I walked to the security monitor near the door. There are cameras in the hallway and in the intake area, but not in the main storage room itself. Policy, supposedly, because of privacy and because it's secure enough. The hallway feed showed an empty corridor. The intake desk was empty, no one. I checked the access log on the keypad. Only my badge had opened the evidence door since midnight. I stood there for a full minute, trying to decide if I'd imagined it. Then it rang again. Same ringtone, same 3 pulses, then silence. This time it came from deeper inside the storage room, near the sealed electronics cabinet. I grabbed my flashlight even though the lights were already on because it felt like the sort of situation where a flashlight makes you braver. I walked between the shelves, past rows of numbered bins, past paper bags and boxes and sealed plastic tubs. The electronics cabinet is steel with a mesh front, padlocked, and inside it are smaller locked drawers. The Faraday bags are stored in those drawers. The ringtone sounded close, not muffled, like it was ringing on a counter next to me. I crouched and put my ear near the cabinet. Nothing. I stood up. A third ring burst out right behind my head. I actually flinched hard enough that I banged my shoulder into the shelf. A line of sealed evidence bags rustled like a bunch of dead leaves. My heart went hot and stupid. I turned around fast. There was nothing behind me except aisle 7, narcotics, paraphernalia, small items, all sealed, all labeled. The ringtone was gone again. My hands were shaking and I hated that. I've handled evidence from homicides without shaking, but that noise in that room at that hour, something about it felt wrong in a way that wasn't logical. Like my body understood something my brain didn't want to. I did the rational thing. I called security. The night security officer, Bram, answered with the sigh of a man who had accepted he'd die under fluorescent lights. Security. Bram, it's Joris in evidence. Did you just call my work phone or something? No. Why? I'm hearing a phone ring inside the evidence storage, like an actual ringtone. There was a pause. Then Bram said, "Is it one of the stored phones? They shouldn't." "I know." Another pause, smaller this time. Bram's voice dropped. "You want me to come down?" "Yeah, please." 2 minutes. Those were the longest 2 minutes I've ever experienced without anyone actively trying to kill me. I stood in the aisle with my flashlight pointed at nothing, listening for a sound that might come back. The building felt like it was holding its breath. When Bram finally arrived, he looked the same way he always looked, bored on the surface, worried in the eyes. He opened the evidence door with his key and stepped in like someone entering a stranger's living room. "You're sure it wasn't, like, a radio?" he asked. "I'm sure." I tried to laugh it off and failed. It sounded like an iPhone, the classic ring. Bram glanced at the steel cabinet. "Show me." We walked together between the ribbon shelves. His footsteps sounded too loud. When we reached the electronics cabinet, he leaned in and shook the padlock slightly, like it might confess. "Do you have the key?" he asked. "I do, but I'm not supposed to open a drawer without a reason logged." I swallowed. "This is a reason." Bram nodded like he was trying to be supportive, which looked unnatural on him. I went to the key box, logged the cabinet access in the system, and unlocked the padlock. The metal door creaked, which it shouldn't. Maintenance had oiled it last month. The sound came out dry and stubborn, like something that wanted to be heard. Inside were the drawers, each labeled by case number range. Bram pointed. "If it's ringing, it's probably not in a bag. Maybe someone checked it in wrong." That made sense. A stupid human mistake. I wanted it to be that. I pulled open the top drawer and started flipping through sealed Faraday pouches, each with a label, case number, item number, initials. I was careful not to disturb anything more than necessary. No ring. Second drawer. Still nothing. Third drawer, midway through, my flashlight beam caught a plastic evidence bag that shouldn't have been there. It was a standard clear bag with a red seal strip. Inside was an old-style digital voice recorder, the cheap kind, silver with a tiny screen and a sliding record switch. No Faraday pouch, no anti-static wrap, just sitting among the phone bags like it belonged. The label on the bag made my stomach tighten. It had a case number written in blocky black marker, 26-0419. That wasn't possible. We were in 2026, sure, but our case numbering didn't run like that. And even if it did, this case wasn't in our system. A future case number would have been weird enough, but the ink looked old, faded at the edges like it had been handled. Bram noticed my face. What? Look at the number. He leaned in. That's next year. I know. Stared at the recorder inside the bag. Maybe someone's playing a joke. Who? This drawer's locked. Bram's eyes flicked to the access log terminal. Only you, since midnight, and me, right now. I lifted the bag carefully and turned it over. No barcode, no printed label, just handwritten marker, and underneath the case number, one word, found. Bram exhaled through his nose like he was trying to keep his brain from running. Okay, take it out, we'll check it. I can't just... You can if you log it. Log it as discovered in storage. Whatever. Joris, if there's an unlogged device in evidence, that's a problem. He was right. And a part of me wanted to open it because the curiosity had started to itch under my fear. I carried the bag to the intake bench, logged a temporary entry. Uncatalogued device discovered during audit. Secured pending supervisor review. My fingers fumbled on the keyboard. Bram watched me, arms crossed. I broke the scuffed corners, dust in the seam. A small Scuffed corners, dust in the seam, a small sticker on the back, half peeled off, with a faint printed logo from a shop that might not even exist anymore. I pressed the power button. The screen blinked awake. 00:00:00. Bram leaned closer. Play it. You want me to play it? He repeated. There was a sharpness in his voice now. Not angry, nervous. I hit play. At first it was just room noise, a soft hiss, then a sound like fabric rustling and a distant beep. A woman's voice came through, close to the microphone, breathing hard. Okay, I'm recording. If anyone finds this, please... She swallowed audibly. Please don't let them put it back. Bram and I looked at each other at the same time. The voice continued, shaky but trying to be controlled. My name is Leanne Van Dyke. My skin went cold so fast it felt like my bones did it. Bram's face changed. You're my wife, I whispered, even though the recording couldn't hear me. The voice on the recorder went on, and every syllable landed like something heavy. I'm at the police station. Evidence. I don't know what day it is. I don't know how many times I've been here. She made a sound, a short, broken laugh that wasn't funny. I keep thinking if I do everything right, it'll stop. But it doesn't stop. It remembers. It remembers everything I touch. There was a thud in the background, like a door closing somewhere far away. Leanne's breathing hitched. I can hear him walking, she whispered. If you're listening to this, Joris. Her voice cracked on my name. Don't come looking. Don't open the locker. Whatever you do, don't open the... A sudden sharp noise cut her off, like a metal drawer slamming. Then static surged, harsh and loud, and the recorder snapped to silence. The screen showed the time counter still moving. 00127. Bram stepped back as if the bench had bitten him. What the hell is this? I couldn't speak. My throat felt locked. Bram took out his radio. I'm calling. No, I said too fast. My voice sounded wrong, thin and high. Wait, it could be someone with her name. It could be a prank. It has to be. Bram looked at me like I'd insulted him. A prank with your wife's full name? In a sealed evidence bag with a future case number? I stared at the recorder. My hands hovered near it like I might try to cover it, to stop the sound from being real. Bram lowered his radio slightly. Where is your wife right now? At home, with Noor. My brain grabbed at routine details like they were life preservers. She texted me earlier. She's asleep. Probably. Call her, Bram said. My fingers were clumsy pulling out my phone. I hit Leanne's name. It rang once, twice. And then, from the evidence storage room behind us, we heard it. The exact same iPhone ringtone. 3 pulses. Then silence. My call dropped at the same time, as if something had yanked the line out. Bram stared at the storage door. The hair on his arms was standing up. I said, very quietly, That's my ringtone. Bram's voice came out hoarse. Joris, what did you bring in here? I didn't, I said. I swear I didn't. We stood in that awful moment where your brain tries to rewrite reality but can't find another script. Then the recorder, still on the bench, started playing again by itself. Neither of us touched it. A new voice came through, male, close to the mic, calm like someone giving directions. Evidence is truth, the voice said. Truth stays where it's stored. Bram's hand went to his belt, to a place where his flashlight hung beside his baton. He didn't draw anything. He just stood like a man waiting for instructions that wouldn't come. The male voice continued, slow and certain. Return the item to its place. The recorder clicked, stopped. The overhead lights flickered once, just a brief dip, then steadied. Bram swallowed. Nope, he said softly, as if saying it louder might make it worse. No, we're taking that thing upstairs, right now. He reached for the recorder. Before his fingers touched it, the evidence room door lock beeped, a keypad beep, like someone entering a code. One beep, then another, then the long error tone, wrong code. Bram and I turned to the door together. The keypad beeped again. This time the tones were slow, deliberate, like someone taking their time. I stepped around the bench, heart hammering, and looked through the small reinforced window in the door. The hallway was empty. but the keypad was being pressed anyway, one button at a time, as if by invisible fingertips. Bram whispered, "Don't open that." I didn't plan to. I couldn't have moved if I wanted to. My body felt like it had been nailed in place. The keypad finished its sequence. For a second, nothing happened. Then the door lock clicked, unlocked from the inside. The handle lowered slowly on its own, like someone gentle was trying not to startle us. Bram's radio crackled once, just a burst of static, then died completely. The door began to swing inward, and from somewhere deep in the storage aisles, behind the shelves and the locked cabinets and all the things that were supposed to stay put, something dragged across the concrete floor in a long, patient scrape, like a metal drawer being pulled open inch by inch for the 100th time. Bram's eyes met mine. He mouthed without sound, "Run," and I realized with a sick certainty that whatever was in our evidence room wasn't trying to get in. It was already there, and it knew my wife's voice. Story 2, Night Shift, Akst, West Dock Morgue. I took the morgue job because it was supposed to be quiet. That sounds insane when I type it out, but quiet is a real category of employment when you've spent years in places that never stopped ringing, buzzing, shouting, or needing you. I'd done hospital security, then night reception at a rehab clinic, then a stretch driving deliveries through industrial zones where every streetlight felt like it was judging you. So when the municipal coroner's office posted a listing for a night attendant, no medical degree needed, just reliable, clean record, comfortable working with decedents, I applied the same day. The building sits in West Dock, all gray concrete and frosted windows, backed up against warehouses and a canal that smells like old pennies. During daytime, it looks normal enough. At night, it looks like a place you drive past a little faster without admitting why. My first week, my supervisor, Marika, gave me the tour like she'd done it 1,000 times and hated every repetition. Most nights you do 3 things, she told me, tapping her pen against a clipboard. Receive, log, watch. Watch what? I asked. She paused half a beat too long. Watch the system, watch the doors, watch for families who shouldn't be here. That last part sounded like a joke, but she didn't smile. There are rules in a morgue that sound like superstition until you've worked there. Never leave a door propped. Never unplug a unit without a second person. Never sign for a body you haven't seen with your own eyes. And, this one Marika said with a flat voice like she was reading a fire code, if you hear a phone ringing in cold storage, you do not answer it. I laughed because I'm an idiot when I'm nervous. Marika didn't. It happens. I'm not explaining it. You won't answer it. That was how my brain filed it, as a workplace quirk, like, don't use the blue microwave, it sparks. Only creepier. I should have listened harder, because the first time the phone rang, I answered it. It was my 3rd night alone. The building was settled into its steady hum. Refrigeration units, ventilation, the occasional pop of pipes, the kind of soundscape that turns your thoughts louder. I was at the desk in the admin corridor, scrolling through an old forum thread about strange shift work stories, because irony is real and I deserve consequences, when I heard a thin, distant ring. At first I thought it was mine. I checked my pocket. Nothing. The ring came again, clearer now, like a ringtone echoing through tile. It wasn't coming from the admin corridor. It was coming from cold storage. I sat up. I listened. The ring had a weird cadence. Not like a modern smartphone, more like an older tone. Something you'd hear from a landline in a cheap office. There shouldn't be any ringing phones down there. Cold storage is for steel drawers and body bags, not communication. The rules floated back into my head. If you hear a phone ringing in cold storage, you do not answer it. I stared at the hallway leading to the storage wing. The overhead lights flickered once, just a normal building hiccup. My skin prickled anyway. I told myself Marika was messing with me. I told myself it was a test. Or maybe there was some emergency phone in the storage wing and she didn't want new staff to panic call dispatch. So I stood up, feeling ridiculous, and walked toward the door labeled Authorized Personnel Only. Cold storage sits behind two doors, a standard one, then a heavy insulated door with a thick handle. When you open that second door, cold air crawls up your sleeves like a living thing. The ringing grew louder with every step, as if the source was moving closer to meet me. I pushed through the insulated door and stepped into the white corridor, lined with numbered drawer units. Each one is a wall of stainless steel compartments with handles and tag clips. The oof ring sounded like it was coming from the far end, near the older units, the ones they keep because replacing them would be expensive and the city hates spending money on the dead. I walked slowly, my shoes squeaking softly on the clean floor. My breath fogged. Ring, ring. Hello? I called, because again, idiot. No reply, just the ringing. At the end of the corridor, there's a small alcove with a sink, gloves, disinfectant dispensers, and on the wall, mounted at chest height like an artifact from another era, there's a beige corded phone. I hadn't noticed it on my tour. It was ringing. The red indicator light blinked with each ring, bright against the sterile white. I stood there, staring at it, feeling my pulse beat in my teeth. I reached out and stopped just short of touching the receiver. It rang again, right in front of me, as if impatient. I thought about Marika's face, about the way she'd said she wasn't explaining it. Then I picked up the receiver and put it to my ear. Westdock Morgue, I said, trying to sound professional, trying to pretend I wasn't standing in a refrigerated hallway answering a phone that shouldn't be ringing. For a moment, there was only static. Then a woman spoke, breathless and close, like she was whispering into a mic under a blanket. "Don't open it," she said. My throat tightened. "Excuse me?" "Don't open the drawer," she repeated, voice trembling. "He'll make you do it." "What drawer?" I asked, already hating myself. There was a sound in the background, not words, more like a low groan, as if metal was under strain. The woman inhaled sharply. "If you're hearing this, you already answered. That means it's your turn. Please." Her voice broke on that last word. "Please don't be brave. Just hang up and leave. It's not..." The line crackled violently, a burst of sharp static that made me jerk the receiver away from my ear. Then a different voice came through, a man's voice, calm, patient, not quite right in the way a recorded announcement isn't quite right. "You have accepted the call," it said. "Proceed to verification." I stood frozen, receiver in hand. "You will confirm identity." The voice continued. "You will match the tag." The cold seemed to deepen, pressing against my face. "I don't know what this is," I managed. "If this is some kind of..." The voice ignored me. "Proceed to drawer 17. There was a click. The line went dead. I stared at the receiver like it might start bleeding. I hung it up so carefully, like it was fragile. Then the corridor behind me made a sound, a soft metallic tap, like a drawer handle shifting. I turned slowly. Nothing moved. The rows of drawers looked the same as they always did. Cold, silent, numbered. I walked backward toward the insulated door. My brain was already rewriting what happened into something I could live with. Prank call, old phone line glitch, staff messing with the new guy. Then I heard it again, closer this time. Tap, tap. A handle being nudged, not pulled, not yanked, just tested like someone trying doors in a hallway. I spun and walked faster. By the time I hit the insulated door, my heart was hammering. I pushed through into the warmer admin corridor and didn't stop until I was behind the reception desk with my back against the wall. I sat there for a long time, listening for footsteps that never came. When my shift ended at 6, Marika arrived with her usual takeout coffee and tired eyes. She took one look at my face and set the cup down without drinking. "You answered," she said. It wasn't a question. I didn't deny it. I couldn't. There was a phone. It rang. I didn't know. "I told you," she cut in, not angry, just disappointed, like a nurse watching someone pick at stitches. "What did it say?" I hesitated. Something about repeating it felt like making it more real. "A woman," she said, "don't open the drawer." Then, "A man," he said, "proceed to verification. Drawer 17. Marika closed her eyes. When she opened them again, she looked older. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay, we're gonna check something." She walked past me toward the storage wing. I followed because I didn't know what else to do. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. At the insulated door, she stopped and turned. "Listen carefully," she said. "I'm going to open the door. You are going to stay behind me. You are not going to touch anything. You are not going to read the tags out loud. Do you understand?" Yes. "If you feel the urge to do something," she continued, voice steady but strained, "you tell me, not later, immediately." The way she said urge made my stomach turn. She opened the insulated door. Cold rolled out. The corridor was exactly the same as before, except my brain had decided it was now a place where phones could summon instructions. Marika walked down the corridor with purpose, not rushing but not hesitant either. She stopped at the drawer units and scanned the numbers until she found a column where 17 was stamped into the steel above a handle. Drawer 17. The handle was slightly ajar, not open, just not fully latched. Marika exhaled slowly. "It's getting bold," she murmured, more to herself than to me. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small padlock. She clipped it through the handle in a loop on the frame, something I didn't know existed. Then she looked at me. "Tell me," she said. "Tell you what?" "Tell me if you want to open it," she replied. I started to shake my head automatically, but my eyes drifted to the drawer like it was a magnet. I didn't want to open it, not in the way you want a snack, but the thought slid into my mind anyway, slick and persistent. "Just check. Just verify. It's your job." My mouth went dry. I swallowed. I don't want to," I said. Marika watched me closely. "Good. Keep saying that." I felt stupid saying it again, but I did. "I don't want to open it." The impulse eased like pressure releasing. Marika nodded once, satisfied. "Okay, we lock it, we log it, we move on." As she turned away, the beige phone in the alcove rang. Once, twice. Marika didn't flinch. She didn't even glance at it. She just kept walking. I did glance because I'm apparently built to learn lessons the hard way. On the wall phone's faceplate, beneath the keypad, someone had scratched words into the plastic. Faint, shallow, like it took time and repeated effort. Answered equals assigned. My skin tightened over my ribs. Marika called over her shoulder without turning around. Eyes forward. I obeyed. Back in the admin area, she made me write an incident report with careful, boring language. Anomalous ring detected from our internal wall phone in cold storage. New employee answered, received unclear instructions. Supervisor secured drawer 17 and logged additional lock. When we finished, she slid the report into a folder and said, "Go home, sleep. Don't talk about this with anyone except me." I should have done exactly that. But I had a girlfriend then, Sanna, who hated when I kept things from her. We'd been together almost 2 years, and she was used to the weirdness of my jobs. She loved the stories as long as they ended with, "and then it was fine." That morning, as we lay in bed with the curtains still drawn, she asked why my hands were shaking. I told her all of it. Sana listened with her chin on my shoulder, silent at first. Then she laughed once, sharp. "So your boss told you not to answer a spooky phone in the morgue, and you did anyway?" "Yeah," I said, feeling defensive. "I didn't think it was real." "And now you're cursed by a landline," she teased. I didn't laugh. The sound in my head, the calm male voice, felt too clean, too certain. Sana kissed my neck. "Babe, it's probably some ancient building intercom thing, or someone messing with rookies." Marika didn't act like it was a prank. Marika also drinks black coffee and looks like she hasn't smiled since 2009. Sana said, "She could be messing with you too." She meant to comfort me. But later that day, when she left for work, she texted me a photo. It was of her office phone, a beige corded phone, same model as the one in cold storage. Her caption, "Look familiar?" I stared at the picture until my eyes went blurry. Lots of offices still use cheap corded phones. It wasn't impossible. Still, my fingers went cold. I texted back, "Stop messing around." She replied with a laughing emoji. Then, "I'm gonna call you from it later. Spooky verification time." I didn't answer. That night, I went back for my shift with a knot in my stomach that felt like it had teeth. Marika wasn't there. She only did day shifts unless something went wrong. It was just me, the hum of refrigeration, and the rules I'd already broken. I sat at the desk and tried to focus on routine paperwork. Intake forms, temperature logs, boring, safe things. At 1:47, the wall phone rang again. Not in cold storage, at my desk. A beige corded phone mounted under the reception counter. A phone I had never seen ring before because it was supposedly disconnected. Ring, ring. My mouth went dry. I didn't pick up. Ring, ring. It stopped. I sat there, rigid, waiting for relief. Instead, the admin corridor lights flickered, and the computer monitor on my desk refreshed on its own. A new window opened, not an email, not a normal system prompt, just black text on a white background, like an old terminal. Proceed to verification drawer. 17 time. Now, my hands hovered over the keyboard. I didn't touch it. I whispered into the empty room. No. The text changed. Non-compliance noted, escalation will occur. The window closed itself. I sat there, listening to my own breathing. Then my personal phone buzzed on the desk. Sana was calling. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. I grabbed it and answered immediately. "Sana?" I said, too fast. Her voice came through distorted like she was speaking through a fan. "Hey!" Static swallowed part of her sentence. "You at work?" "Yes, are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," she said, but she didn't sound fine. She sounded distracted, like she was reading something. "This is gonna sound weird, but I just got this call at my office and..." The line crackled. A low, calm male voice bled through beneath hers. like someone talking over her shoulder. "You will confirm identity," it said. Sanna's voice trembled. I don't know why it said that, but my phone, my office phone, it rang, and when I picked up, it was like, "Sanna," I cut in, my heart slamming. Hang up right now." There was a pause. "Why are you freaking out?" "Because it's not a prank," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Please just hang up." The calm male voice returned, clearer now, as if it had adjusted its position closer to her mouth. "Verification is required," it said. "Return to drawer 17. Sanna let out a small laugh that sounded like panic wearing the costume. "Okay, what the hell is this? Is this you? Did you tell Marika to—" "It's not me," I said. "Sanna, listen, do you feel like you have to do what it says?" Another pause. Her breathing came louder, like she'd put the phone closer to her face. She began. That's weird. I was just thinking I should go check something in the basement. Like, I have to, but I don't even have a basement." My stomach dropped. "Sanna," I said quietly, "hang up and put your phone down. Walk outside. Go somewhere with people." "I can't," she whispered, and suddenly her voice was small. "It's like, if I don't, something bad." The calm voice spoke over her. "Escalation will occur," it said, the exact words from my screen. Then the line went dead, not disconnected like a normal hang-up, dead like the phone had become a piece of plastic. I stared at my screen, at my reflection in the dark glass. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I wanted to run out of the building. I wanted to drive to Sanna's office. I wanted to call the police, except I was literally sitting in a city morgue where police were regulars, and I didn't know how to explain a wall phone is assigning my girlfriend tasks. The beige desk phone rang again. Once, twice. I didn't answer, but in my head, like a thought that wasn't mine, a simple instruction formed: calm, patient, inevitable. Proceed to verification. And I realized the worst part wasn't the phone or the drawer. It was the feeling that the building could reach through the wires and put instructions inside people. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and headed for cold storage, telling myself I was only going to check the lock, only to make sure drawer 17 was still secured. I didn't have to do it. I chose to. That's what I told myself anyway. But halfway down the cold corridor, with my breath fogging and my ears full of the hum of refrigeration, I heard a sound that didn't belong. A soft, wet thump, like something heavy settling onto a metal tray. I stopped. The thump came again, closer, and then, from somewhere behind the steel drawers, a woman whispered my name, so faint I almost believed it was the ventilation. "Don!" It was Sanna's voice, and it was coming from inside cold storage. Story 3, the last bus to Harlingen. In my town, the last bus matters more than people admit. During the day, the routes run every 15 minutes, students and commuters packed shoulder to shoulder, bikes rattling in the racks outside. But after midnight, the whole schedule collapses into a few lonely lines cutting through empty streets and farmland. If you miss the last one, you're walking. And out here, walking home at night means canals, dark roads, and long distances between houses. I've been the driver of line N7 for almost 6 years. Friday and Saturday nights, 0040 departure from the station, then 23 stops all the way to Harlingen Harbor. You learn people by their routines, the girl who always falls asleep one stop before hers, the old fisherman who rides just to talk to someone, the couple that pretends not to know each other until the third stop after downtown. Night bus drivers don't just drive, we witness. Which is why I noticed when seat 12 started riding without a passenger. It began in early November, cold enough that the windows fog from breath, late enough that conversations turn quiet and everyone stares at the reflections. My first run that night was normal. Loud students, chips on the floor, someone trying to sneak an open beer past me. I kicked them off at the canal bridge and thought nothing of it. Second run, 1:50 departure, almost empty. Just 4 riders. At stop 3, the museum corner, a young woman boarded, mid-20s maybe. Dark coat, hair tied back, no hat even though it was freezing. She didn't look at me, didn't say hello, just tapped her card and walked halfway down the bus. Sat in seat 12, right side window. I remember because that seat heater is broken and people complain about it every winter. At stop 5, I checked the mirror as usual before pulling away. Seat 12 was empty. I frowned. I hadn't opened the doors long enough for someone to exit without me noticing, and she'd been sitting near the middle. She would have passed me. I figured she moved farther back, maybe to sleep. At the end of the roads, I walked the aisle like we always do, checking for lost items or unconscious passengers. No one was there. Seat 12's window was fogged from someone's breath. I wiped it with my sleeve and didn't think about it again until the next weekend. Same woman, same stop, same silent tap of the transit card, same seat. And again, before stop 5, gone. This time I checked immediately at the next red light. I actually got up, walked back, ignoring the annoyed look from the one other passenger. Empty bus. I asked the passenger, a guy with headphones, "Did that woman get off?" He blinked at me. "What woman?" "The one who boarded at the museum." He pulled one earbud out. "Driver, it's just been me since the station." I laughed it off. People zone out, phones distract them. I convinced myself I'd imagined her boarding. Then I checked the fare log when I got back to the depot. There were 2 taps at the museum stop that night. Mine records every card. Scan with timestamp. 2 taps. One was real, the headphone guy. The other had no linked account. Just a blank ID string the system couldn't resolve. I reported it as a terminal glitch. Maintenance shrugged. The 3rd weekend, I decided to greet her. When she boarded, I smiled and said, "Cold night, huh?" She paused, looking at me for the first time. Her eyes were tired in a way that didn't match her age. "I always make this one," she said quietly. "I never miss it." Her voice sounded like she was continuing a conversation we'd already had. "You heading far?" I asked casually. She hesitated. "To the end." Lots of people say that jokingly, meaning the harbor. But she didn't smile. She sat in seat 12. At stop 5, I watched the mirror the whole time as people got off. Nobody from seat 12 walked past. But when the doors closed, the seat was empty. This time I stopped the bus, right there in the road. The remaining passengers groaned. I ignored them and walked back, checking every row, even crouching to look under seats like she might be hiding. Nothing. The window was fogged again. I touched the glass. It was warm. The passenger near the back said, "Driver, you okay?" I nodded, returned to my seat, and drove in silence. When I reached the harbor terminus, dispatch radioed, "You paused off schedule. Everything all right?" "Yeah," I said, staring at the empty bus in the mirror. "Just verifying." I don't know why I used that word. After that night, I started watching C12 more than the road. You shouldn't do that, but humans are bad at ignoring patterns. She boarded every Friday and Saturday, never missed. Always museum stop, always silent tap, always seat 12, always gone by stop 5. Winter deepened. The farmland froze silver under moonlight. The bus heater rattled constantly, and every weekend she rode. One night in December, snow started falling during my second run. Big, slow flakes. That swallow sound. Only 2 passengers besides her. At stop 4, an older woman with groceries approached the front and asked, "Driver, are you stopping for her?" "For who?" I said. She pointed behind her, confused. The girl who rang the bell. The stop request light wasn't on. I checked the mirror. Seat 12 was empty. The older woman frowned. Strange. I heard the bell. We hadn't reached stop 5 yet. I opened the doors anyway. No one got off, but a gust of cold air entered like someone had stepped past me. The older woman shivered. "Feels like someone left," she muttered, sitting back down. I closed the doors and continued, hands tight on the wheel. At the depot later, I checked the internal camera footage. Seat 12 camera glitched every time she vanished. Static for exactly 3 seconds, long enough for a person to walk to the front, except the front camera showed nobody. That night I dreamed of driving an empty bus forever, the heater blowing, doors opening, no one boarding. Then in January she spoke again. When she tapped her card, she leaned slightly toward the protective glass around my seat. "You didn't stop last time," she said. "I did," I replied automatically. "No one got off." She looked at me with something like pity. "I did." Before I could ask anything else, she walked to Seat 12. My chest felt tight the whole route. At stop 5, I slowed earlier than usual. My foot hovered on the brake. In the mirror, she sat staring forward, hands folded. The stop bell didn't ring, but I opened the doors anyway. Cold air rolled in. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the bus lowered slightly on its suspension. Just a subtle shift, like weight leaving. Seat 12 was empty. I shut the doors carefully and continued. That should have been the end of it. A strange routine you accept and move on. But 2 weeks ago, a man boarded at the station just before midnight, before my final run. Plain clothes, but you can always tell police by posture alone. He flashed a badge quickly. "Mind if I ride along? Missing person case tied to your route." I nodded. "Sure, where are you sitting?" He scanned the bus, then pointed. "Seat 12. My stomach dropped. He noticed my reaction. "Problem?" "No," I said too fast. "Seat heater's broken." He shrugged and sat anyway, notebook in hand. As we pulled away, he said, "Young woman disappeared in November. Last phone signal pinged near museum stop around this time. We're checking transport routes." I swallowed. "You have a photo?" He showed me. Dark coat, hair tied back. Her. I kept my eyes on the road. "I think she rides this line." He leaned forward. "Recently?" "Every weekend," I said, "until stop 5. He stared at me. "Driver, she's been missing for 3 months." The air in the bus felt suddenly thinner. At the museum stop, the doors opened. No one boarded. I waited, longer than usual. Nothing. The officer frowned. "You sure?" I nodded slowly, confused and afraid at the same time. We continued. At stop 4, the officer shifted uncomfortably. "Weird question," he said. "Did someone just sit next to me?" I checked the mirror. Seat 12 now held 2 impressions in the fabric, like someone had just settled beside him. He turned slightly, eyes scanning empty air. "Hello?" The stop bell rang, clear and sharp. We hadn't reached stop 5 yet. I pulled over automatically. The doors opened, cold air flooded in. The officer's breath hitched. "I can hear breathing," he whispered. I couldn't move. From the mirror, I watched the seat slowly rise as if weight lifted from it. The officer looked directly at the empty space beside him. "Ma'am," he said gently, voice suddenly the careful tone people use around victims. Silence. Then he flinched as if someone whispered into his ear. His face drained of color. "What did she say?" I asked quietly. He stared forwards, hands shaking. "She said," he whispered, "I never got off the bus." The doors were still open. Snow drifted in, and for the first time since November, seat 12 stayed empty when we reached stop 5. But the fare system logged 2 taps. Story 5, the neighbor who returned the noise. I moved into the duplex because it was cheap, not because it was good. The listing called it quiet residential living, which in rental language means old building, thin walls, and nobody wants the upstairs unit. But I work late shifts repairing commercial kitchen equipment, so quiet during the day mattered more than quality at night. Most people are loud when I'm gone and asleep when I'm home. The landlord, Peter, handed me the keys in the parking lot and said, "You'll like the neighbors, older couple. Hardly notice they're there." He said it the way you say it about furniture, reassuring, neutral, forgettable. The first night I realized what he meant. No footsteps above me, no TV, no plumbing noise, nothing. I lay in bed at 2:30 a.m. listening to the hum of my refrigerator and thought I'd finally found the rare apartment where the building itself didn't constantly remind you of other people existing. Then, 3 nights later, I heard the knocking. Not loud, not angry, just steady. 3 knocks. Pause, 3 knocks. It came from the shared wall with the upstairs staircase, the part where our units met but didn't connect. I checked the time, 4:12. I ignored it. People wake up, drop things, weird acoustics carry sound strangely in old buildings. The next night, same time, 3 knocks. Pause, 3 knocks. This time I tapped back on the wall twice, lightly, the universal apartment language for "Hey, I hear you." The knocking stopped immediately. I smiled, rolled over, went back to sleep. After that, it became routine. Every night around 4:10 to 4:15, the knocks happened, always the same pattern. If I tapped back once, they stopped. I never met the upstairs neighbors, but I started imagining them. Elderly, probably someone getting up for medication or the bathroom and accidentally hitting the wall with a cane or cabinet door. I worked nights, they lived mornings. We shared the building politely without needing introductions. About 2 weeks in, I finally crossed paths with Peter again while taking trash out. "Quiet place," I told him. He nodded. "Told you. Only thing is your upstairs tenants wake early." His expression changed slightly, not confusion, calculation. "What time?" he asked. "Around 4:15. He stared at me a moment longer than normal, then shrugged. "Old houses settle." I accepted that answer because it's the kind landlords always give. And honestly, I didn't mind. It felt almost comforting, like a neighborly check-in without speaking. Until the morning I answered the luagrim, a knocking. I'd come home exhausted after a grease fire repair that ran late. I collapsed into bed at sunrise and woke to the knocking hours later, but it wasn't night. My room was bright. I checked my phone. 11:42 a.m. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. I frowned. Wrong time. People don't accidentally knock the same pattern at noon. I went upstairs. The staircase to the upper unit is external, metal steps running along the side of the building. The door at the top had a faded wreath and an old brass number plate. I knocked normally, no answer. I knocked again, nothing. But from inside, faintly, I heard movement, not footsteps, not furniture, breathing, slow, close to the door. "Hello?" I called. "It's your downstairs neighbor." The breathing stopped instantly. Silence pressed against the other side of the door so hard it felt physical. I waited 30 seconds, then went back downstairs feeling embarrassed for intruding. That night, the knocking didn't happen. Neither did the next. By the third night, I realized how much I'd gotten used to it. The absence felt wrong, like a clock missing a tick. Then on the fourth night, at exactly 4:13, it returned, but louder. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. I tapped back once. It didn't stop. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. I tapped harder. Still continued. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. I got out of bed and put my ear against the wall. The knocks weren't coming from above anymore. They were coming from inside the wall itself, like someone on the other side of the studs, not the room beyond them. I stepped back slowly. The pattern changed. 3 knocks. Pause. 1 knock. Then again. 3. Pause. 1. My skin tightened. Patterns feel intentional. Intentional means someone is trying to communicate. I googled it, half joking. Morse code. 3 short, 1 short didn't translate cleanly, but repeating irregular patterns sometimes form. Letters depending on spacing. I recorded it on my phone and played it back repeatedly, trying to convince myself it was random. While replaying it, I noticed something else. Behind the knocks was faint sound. Airflow maybe, but rhythmic, almost like breath against drywall. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, I called Peter. "Are the upstairs tenants okay?" I asked. A long pause. "They moved out last winter," he said carefully. I felt my stomach dip. "I knocked yesterday." "Impossible," he replied. I insisted I heard someone. He sighed and said he'd come by. We walked upstairs together. He unlocked the door with a master key. The unit was empty, no furniture, no dust disturbance, no sign anyone had been there in months. But in the bedroom, the wall shared with my apartment had a discolored square about shoulder height, drywall patched recently. Peter looked at it, confused. "This wasn't here before." The knocking happened that night again. 3. Pause. 1. I pressed my palm to the wall and without thinking knocked back once. Silence. Then from directly behind my hand, impossibly close, a single knock answered. Not upstairs, not next door, inside the wall. I pulled my hand away fast. My phone buzzed on the counter at that exact moment. Unknown number, no caller ID. I answered before thinking, heavy breathing. Then a man whispered, strained and hoarse, "Please stop answering." The call ended. The knocking resumed immediately, faster now, urgent. 3. Pause. 1. 3. Pause. 1. I moved my bed to the other side of the apartment that night. Didn't matter. The sound traveled through every wall. 2 days later, a police notice was taped to the building entrance. Investigation scheduled regarding structural irregularities. They opened the shared wall upstairs. There was a narrow maintenance crawl space running vertically between units, barely wide, enough for pipes, and inside it, according to the officer who spoke to me carefully afterward, they found signs someone had been there for a long time. Food wrappers, scratched markings counting days, and fingernail gouges on the inner drywall. Where my bedroom wall stood, they never found a person. But the last mark carved into the wood stud, facing directly toward my apartment, read, "He knocks back." I moved out that week. My new place is concrete, no shared walls, no upstairs neighbors. But sometimes, around 4:13, my kitchen cabinet gives 3 soft knocks. Pause, 1 knock, and I don't answer anymore.